sound up.
Yeah, I hear you through my
You
computer.
can hear me okay? Sound quality okay?
Yeah. Well, it could be louder, but I can raise the volume. Talk now. There, it works. Yeah, I hear you through my computer.
Hear me okay? Sound quality okay?
Yeah, except I'm in the big picture.
Talk a bit more.
Raise the volume.
Just keep blabbering
Oh,
away.
it's kind of switching lights from my end. It works. My voice sound, and there's a ton of echo. Yeah, except I'm in the big picture. Raise the volume.
Just keep blabbering away.
There's a lot of extra noise. This microphone is bad. My voice sounds all crackly. Okay, I'm talking, still talking. Sounds horrible. It sounds terrible from this end.
Yeah, it does sound bad.
I think it's the microphone on this computer. Still inviting people. I can barely hear you on my own racket.
Can you adjust anything on your microphone?
I can't hear you. What? It's like seriously delayed.
Can you adjust anything on your microphone?
I said I do not know. Give me a minute.
Anything better? Yes. No. Okay.
I'm working on it. I have a very slow computer. Give me a second.
Is everything doing better? Oh, they're going to the fire. There's a fire. Is Mom still on?
Uh-huh.
Okay. Can she hear me?
Here for it.
Can she hear me? No?
I can hear you. Fine if
Can I
it's
just do
audio
what we did last time? Do you remember what we did last time?
Yeah.
What did we do last time?
I don't remember.
Because we put her on, and I was the one with the headphones.
Yeah, you need to get over here.
Why? Because we're
Because
starting?
well, we will be soon, and it'll just be easier all the way around. Just go behind and over here, please.
Okay. Can you hand me my phone then, please? Oh. Thank you. I'm still like not even in it.
Well,
Okay, well, like scoot over a little bit. Cause ow!
alright.
It's okay. Just be careful. Don't knock over your thing. I'm thinking this is good. Move just a little bit more. Just a tiny bit. Just a tiny bit. There we go. That's good. There we go. We're good. We're good. I'm gonna go closer. Okay. Hi, Mom.
Hi. Hi.
Hi.
I'm like getting really,
Okay, can you...
ah! It's slow. It's hot.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
sounds like typing.
There's no audio from her.
I hear a little bit of a voice, maybe.
I think she heard you. I'm just kidding.
No,
Oh, you're coming in louder.
Listen in here. Do you hear anything?
Yeah.
Oh,
hear
now I hear
everybody.
myself
Can
on
you
my
hear her?
computer.
Yeah.
Okay, I can't hear her. Nothing.
I hear Britt say, yeah. Okay, I'm hearing you guys
Okay.
talk softly.
Now I can hear her.
Now what do we do? Do we just share it?
Okay, I hear Britt nice
I'm
and loud.
confused.
Okay, I can
Oh,
barely
there's a
hear
doggy
her.
sleeping. Okay, yay.
Oh, you can hear a little bit because of my phone.
Shut off your phone.
I did. Oh, no, don't shut it off. Just turn off the sound. It's echoey a little bit.
Okay, well, this is the 15th webcast for A Mirror Darkly, and once again we are experimenting with the technology.
Dad.
What? This is the 15th webcast of
No, I'm
Mirror
not talking about you.
Darkly.
Never mind. Never mind.
Today's topic is on apologetics, and Ruth is under the weather, and so we're trying to bring her in remotely, and we are still having difficulties with doing that. Here's her remotely.
I can hear you very softly.
So the difficulty is that I am not getting audio from her at all. So apparently, though, she can be heard over the webcast.
And here's my doggy.
So anyway, this will be interesting to try to accomplish. Not sure what I'm going to do here. And the problem is, from my perspective, that is, I can listen to the webcast on another computer that we have here in the studio, but that's delayed from where we are right now, and so I cannot hear Ruth in real time. I hear her delayed by 10 or 15 or more seconds. If I have this in my ear, I can hear myself 10 or 15 seconds after I've said stuff, which becomes very confusing. So I'm not sure what we're going to do. We've got to figure out how to get this to work better than what it is. So apologetics is comes from a Greek word that means speaking in defense, and it's a religious discipline where you are trying to defend your faith. It's primarily something that we do in Christianity. We're people. I mean, the reality is that Christianity, unlike most religious faiths, is very much dependent upon the objective reality of the things that we are saying happened. That is, Paul in 1 Corinthians 15 says that if the resurrection did not occur, then we're all wasting our time. We are, as he said, of all people most miserable. Because not only are we talking about something that didn't happen, we become false witnesses of God. We're lying. We're not saying things that are accurate. And so, apologetics is something that developed very early in the history of the church. We find it by the 2nd century at the very latest. You have a number of Christian authors over the years that have argued for the veracity, that is, the truthfulness of the Christian message. There are several different verses that people like to use to justify the fact that we argue for the veracity of the faith. If I can find my notes here. Can you hear me, Ruth? Nod your head. I assume she's hearing me. The classic verse for justifying the concept of apologetics is from 1 Peter chapter 3, verse 15. It says, "But in your hearts revere Christ as Lord. Always be prepared to give an answer to everyone who asks you to give the reason for the hope that you have. But do this with gentleness and respect." Over the years, there have been two primary approaches to apologetics. What's called evidentialist, which is what most people are familiar with. If you've ever read Lee Strobel's book, Case for Christ, that would be a good example of an evidentialist approach to apologetics. He set out to demonstrate that Christianity wasn't true, and of course changed his mind as a consequence of his research. Josh McDowell, of course, is famous for writing the book Evidence That Demands a Verdict, and I find that I have some personal liking for the book because the 1999 edition actually quotes from me in one section when he's dealing with the question of the two different genealogies of Jesus. Unfortunately, Josh McDowell doesn't agree with me, but at least he did quote from me extensively. The difficulty with some of the evidentialist approaches, though, particularly when we start thinking in terms of how do we demonstrate the existence of God, is that it comes down too often to falling into the danger of the God of the gaps approach to things. The God of the gaps approach is that we look at something, and if we can't find any other obvious explanation for it, we say, God is the one that had to have done it. And the difficulty with that is that eventually we tend to find some other explanation for something, or some way of explaining what's going on. And that leads to a constantly shrinking God. In the case of trying to determine the existence of God, the evidentialist approach is probably not the best one. And that's where the presuppositionalist approach comes in. Two well-known practitioners of that would be Cornelius Van Til, and other guy's last name is Clark. What was his name? I've got it in my notes, of course. Where does his name go? Anyway, Gordon Clark. What they point out is that in any endeavor, there are certain presuppositions that we have that are neither provable nor unprovable. And the same thing happens in scientific theories or in mathematics. So, for instance, I've used this example before. If you have a course in geometry, you have a series of axioms that you have to memorize the definition of. And so you memorize the definition of a point, you memorize the definition of a line, and the reason you do this is because you have to have these things as starting points for doing the rest of geometry. After you get the axioms, then you move on to theorems, and the theorems are taking those axioms and putting them into theories to describe reality. And so there are basic assumptions that we have, for instance, as members of Western civilization. That is, we assume that the universe actually exists. We assume that our senses give us an essentially accurate picture of that universe. We believe in the principle of cause and effect, but these are things that we simply assume. They're axioms. They're not something that's provable. And so Van Til and Clark would argue that some elements of the Christian faith are axiomatic. That is, they are simply presuppositions that we have to hold in order to have reason to discourse after that.
I didn't do anything.
No, you just dropped the something.
The paper.
Ah.
I'm just gonna start laughing in a second.
Perhaps. And so the question then is what would be the presuppositions in Christianity? And one of the basic would be the existence of God himself. As we look at the biblical accounts of things, we don't find philosophical arguments trying to demonstrate God's existence. The existence of the divine is merely assumed by the authors of Scripture, and it was widely assumed by members of the societies around them. The issue at hand for everybody is who is God? And so, and is there something unique about or special about the God of Israel? The Israelites only very gradually came to an awareness that, or acceptance of the idea that there is only one God and all the other gods were figments of the imagination. One of the early criticisms of Christianity was the idea that we are atheists because we rejected the existence of all other deities. Ruth, do you have anything that you would like to add or say?
I don't have anything just yet. I'm still inviting people. Apparently, I can invite a lot more people on my computer than I can on my phone. So, I think I do want to make the comment that I think that a lot of people are intimidated by the study of apologetics. It sounds scary, like theology, and I think because it uses kind of a it's a can't think of the word. It's an academic word, and I think it's basically that people need to be ready to explain what they believe. I think that's pretty much what apologetics boils down to in layman's terms. And if you don't have to defend your faith when somebody asks you a question that requires you to, sometimes you can scramble a little bit. People get nervous about that. And I think that's why people get concerned about, like, well, what if a Mormon comes to my door, a Jehovah's Witness comes to my door, you know? And so apologetics can help with that. But I think too, like in my case, like I have a Jehovah's Witness that keeps coming to talk to me. And basically I had a response for her already set, just kind of a generic Jehovah's Witness response. And then we decided to meet on a somewhat irregular basis. And I've just done a lot of research, and now it's really easy to do that kind of research. So I've done a lot of research on what she believes and kind of what things that they don't have an answer for, like grace and faith and things like that. So apologetics, I think, scares people because, well, first of all, it sounds like you're sorry for what you believe. But it's like, I'm studying apologetics. I always like to say, oh, I'm sorry. But it's kind of a joke. But anyway, that's kind of my take on apologetics. I don't know if you heard any of that.
No one found it funny.
Not getting a response. No.
Okay. Yeah, well, just shifted over. Remember, I'm delayed by several seconds from where you are. So that's difficult.
Ow!
Ooh, sorry. Difficult aspect of doing this. We gotta figure out the audio situation so it works more smoothly for us. Because the video here on my screen on the computer, I can see what exactly Ruth is doing at any given moment. I can see what we're doing at any given moment, although it looks like that Ruth is frozen. Oh, no, she's just not moving, that's all. Because on the screen that I've got in front of me, I've got the shot that we're doing and that you're seeing on your screens at home. And then on the left side, I can see Ruth, and if I wanted to, I could bring her over and replace Brittany and I with Ruth. But I can't hear Ruth at the same time that is, everything's delayed if I listen through the other machine. And so it makes it just more difficult to do anything. But we will manage for the time being, and eventually we'll get all this working in a more reasonable way. And Ruth is saying something and moving her screen.
What did you say, Mom?
Well, it's going to show up several seconds later. Could you hear her?
We didn't get any of that.
Yeah, probably because she's not actually live on screen. That's weird. So this is, at this point, ineffective. Just a minute.
Oh, this
It's going
works
to say
nicely. I just
something.
flipped it to the side of the couch.
Still can't hear her.
Ooh, that's a lot of light.
Nothing.
But she's not up yet.
Oh, hello.
See, it's all delayed.
Hi.
She's talking about the couch. She's talking about the couch.
Well, I'm trying to figure out the sound, and I realized I can hook it to the couch. This little thing I've got my phone on. But I'm trying to figure out my sound issues. But I know if I navigate away from this screen, I'm going to freeze up. But it livens up when I come back. So, not sure what to do. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, you can't do that.
Yeah. But I'm not getting good volume out of you guys. There's a thing up here with the camera in it, but let's see. I don't know. Anyway. So. Oh, I know what might help if I got my speaker from the bathroom. Yikes, you're falling over. Nobody's really joined us anyway. It's still just the three of us on here. So the fact we're not discussing anything doesn't, yikes, matter right now. Hold on, look at that painting for a while.
Okay.
I'll do this. I'll take you through the house. I'm going to go get my speaker.
Bad feeling that was gonna drop.
Powering on. Welcome to Alltech Lansing.
Okay, is that better? I'm not hearing you guys at all, and I'm not seeing you. Hi, doggy. Ugh.
Okay, can you hear us?
Was trying to see if I could get it to go on my speaker, but Let's see. Bluetooth is on. Yep. Okay. It's connected to my speaker. Talk again. I'm not hearing you at all.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. But it's still
Today's
faint. It's still
episode is
through my
apparently mostly
phone.
experimenting with the technology.
Yes. I'm going to try with my earbuds if I can hear you better. So if I can hear you better, I can
Like one of those
participate
things that
better.
says, the broadcaster will be back temporarily.
No.
No, that would have been like a funny thing to do. Let's make the
Yeah.
funny ones.
Well, except I can't hear you.
No, it's not. It's not going through any of my Bluetooth stuff. So
Because I
weird.
hear you severely delayed.
Yeah.
The only way I can hear
Well,
you
I
is...
can hear you, but it's really faint. It's like through the
Okay. The only time I can hear you is
like
when
the
I plug into the
earpiece
other
of my
computer that
phone.
we have here. And... yeah, this is very delayed. I'm trying to think of what... I suppose I could try to time it, but it's like 10 or 15 seconds behind from when I
Yeah.
speak to
No,
when
sometimes it
it
can be
shows
30
up.
seconds behind.
You think it's that far behind?
It can be a while till it comes back. Maybe 15 seconds. Yeah, maybe. Depends.
Just when I have the phone up on my computer table,
And
it's
see
too
if we
far
could
away to
have it
hear you
hooked
very
up
well. Now that it's a little closer, it's easier.
If we'd have it hooked
What?
up so that we could hear through the computer here, through what I've got here.
I just wonder why it won't go through any of my Bluetooth stuff. Ugh.
It's the delay that's the difficulty. Yeah. I'm not quite sure why I can't get the sound of you through what I'm doing here. Now, if I could if I connected to you through the phone, that is, if I called you on the phone, then put you on,
That would have been better.
did it, through, so I'd listen to you through the, if I could listen to you through these things, and have you on the phone, then we would be synced instead of being
Right, because
10 or
I'm
15
hearing you
seconds
right away, but
delayed.
whatever's playing on, actually, what's on the, oh no, it's just, I'm blinking. I was sitting very still. But whatever's on the computer is delayed on here, on my laptop is delayed because that's what's going out. But what's on my phone, because that's the one doing the actual link up, that's all at the same time.
Sorry.
So if
guys.
you were able to hear me through the computer that you have all the screen stuff on, not that little computer, you would be able to hear me at the same
Right.
time. Can you hook the earbuds to that?
To what?
To the big computer.
I've tried hooking them to the big computer. I don't hear anything through it. And I think it's
Oh.
because the speakers on the computer here are disabled, so we don't get feedback that we'd otherwise have. But
But can you set it
there's
up
gotta
to
be
work through the
setting
earbuds?
here where I can hear
Because that's like
you
a speaker setting.
without having the feedback issue, but I do not know how to do that yet. So, I wonder what this is. There's got to be a way, you would think.
Well, 150-year anniversary of the Transcontinental Railroad. Hmm.
So stupid.
Yeah. This is just not the most effective thing.
Yeah. Well, we need to get this part figured out because we want to bring in guests from far away, like JP and Lori and things like that. We're going to need to be able to do it. So we'll figure it out
What'd she
this
say?
summer. We can limp through this episode.
Yeah, we do have to figure this out eventually.
Hold on. What is she saying?
So
try
would
and
you
figure
agree,
out how
going
to
back
do
to our
the
topic?
sound thing so it works better.
Are we not even going to be doing the live anymore?
Yeah.
Because it's not worth it just to be doing this. Like, when people want to learn about stuff. Okay.
Anyway, are we going back to topic?
Hey, what were you going to say, Ruth?
Well, I was trying to go back to the topic.
Yes.
Okay. So would you say that probably the best way, because this is my opinion, the best way to be prepared, because like I said before when I was talking about apologetics, and it's kind of a lofty title for something that's actually not that difficult, but challenging at the same time, which is just to be able to answer for the faith that you have, which is what the Bible tells us we need to do. Would you say that probably the easiest way to get started with getting stronger in apologetics would be to through the practice of reading through your Bible in a year and doing that every year?
Yes, I think that reading through the Bible on a regular basis is going to give you the tools that you need to be able to respond to people. Because essentially what apologetics bottom line is all about is answering the questions that people have, whatever questions they may have. Because apologetics is a defense of the gospel. That is, we are responding to questions that people have. And the primary purpose of it's a branch of evangelism, actually. That is, those who are vehemently opposed to the faith are generally not going to be swayed by the responses that we have. But it is going to be helpful to...
Go behind.
It will be helpful to those who are genuinely searching. And on occasion, though, it has been helpful to people that were vehement critics. That is, Josh McDowell is an example, Lee Strobel is an example of that. C.S. Lewis even was an example of that. That is, he did not come into the faith naively or quickly. who's after examining.
I would really,
data.
again, urge people to watch.
But
I think I'm stepping over your voice.
I think for most
'Cause
people,
I'm on the
the
delay.
value of apologetics is in simply answering the questions that people may have. That people may have.
I think that people should really watch Lee Strobel's
that people may
movie,
have
The Case
at
for
any
Christ, on
given,
Netflix.
Moment, live TV.
I think we're talking on each other.
That is, for average people, they want to know information, and that's what apologetics can give them. We can answer their basic questions. Who Jesus is, what it is that God expects of us and wants of us, things like that. We can try to answer some of the puzzles that we may run across in Scripture. And we can acknowledge that an important aspect of being a Christian is to recognize the Bible is not complete information. The Bible gives us what we need to know. It doesn't give us everything we'd like to know. And the data that's portrayed in the Bible is, by its nature, going to be limited and incomplete. John, at the very end of his gospel, says that if everything Jesus had done is going to be written in a book, he supposed the whole world wouldn't be able to contain all the books that would be written. The amount of data, the possible data, is virtually infinite. But apologetics should not be thought of as being scary. It depends on who your audience is as far as how much information firepower you might need.
What I tried to say before, but I don't think you realized I was talking, was that I highly recommend that people watch the movie on Netflix, The Case for Christ, because I found it astonishing. I mean, I kind of knew, but to see him compile the evidence for the historical Christ, and then for him actually finding Christ ultimately, I think is fascinating to watch, and I think it will help people really understand kind of what the search for Christ is for people that do not believe at all. But I think for most people, they have a basic belief in God, possibly in Christ, and so you can find a common ground, like, okay, we agree that the Bible is true, or we believe that God exists, or that God loves us and has a plan for us. There's some common ground you can start from and then build from there. And that's where just a cursory knowledge of the entire Bible by reading through it is so much better. And for people that are not good at just sitting down like every day at a certain time and doing something, if you can build it into your routine, like my Bible reading, and that is embedded in my morning routine. It's what I do while I'm getting ready. Like this morning, I was not feeling well, so I came out to the couch and I just went back to sleep. So I didn't do my Bible reading today, but I'll catch it up tomorrow while I'm getting ready for church, because regardless how I feel, I need to be at church tomorrow. So, but I think that if you can find a way to embed it into what you do, like on your drive to work, listen to it on audio or whatever, I think that's hugely valuable. If you have to go out of your way to do it and you make a big deal out of it, like, okay, I'm going to study all of this, I'm going to read commentaries and all that, no, that's not a good way to go. Just read the word. Just do that. It takes about 10 minutes a day and you get through the entire Bible in a year. And last year I did a chronological read through the Bible, which was like, the actual chronology of it is debatable, but still it was kind of an interesting perspective. It just was difficult because some days I'd have to read in this book and some days in that book. I think it'll be easier to do when I'm like retired and I can flip around, because when I'm listening to it, Bible Gateway isn't set up in such a way where it just reads your daily Bible reading to you. it like I have to look and see what the passage is and then go to the audio and find it there. So if it was set up more connected that way, it would be easier. But I just think that if people really want to be able to defend their faith adequately, that they should read through the Bible and also watch The Case for Christ. And I'm not seeing you at all. All that's showing on Facebook is me. So I keep looking at the TV and looking around the room. This is not very engaging for if anybody decides to watch this after. So if you think about it, maybe do that swipe thing to get yourselves on there.
Well, there I swiped. I'm not sure why you think that your face being there is less interesting than my face and Brittany's face being there, but of course ideally what we'd like to do, and there is a way to do it, I just have not learned how to do it yet, is bring up so you can see both people at the same time on the screen. But I do not know how to do that yet. I've looked at the video and I've seen that can be done, but I have not figured it out yet. There are many things I haven't figured out about this software, as it's quite obvious from anybody that watches our webcast that we're obviously still pretty clueless about what we're up to when it comes to the technical regarding this stuff. But, you know, we're slowly learning in the midst of all the other things that we have to do. And when you think about, you know, segue into the topic, doing apologetics, you know, all of us are very, very busy people. And we have lots of things that we're trying to do. And theology, apologetics, any of these things seem too daunting. You know, I'd rather just kick back and watch Netflix.
I would. I would. I'd just sit back and just watch Netflix.
Or play on your phone.
Or play on my phone, which I'm trying
Doing
to
at
put
the
something
moment.
right now. What? I don't know what to say. I'm not with Mom here, so I'm kind of frustrated that I can't say anything.
Well, you can say things.
I don't know what to say.
Well, see,
Sorry,
this,
I'm not gonna that was it too loud?
it was loud.
Wait, hold on.
It was loud to me. But no, you're a good.
Mom's face.
No, but really, seriously.
Okay, I'll put it down.
No, you're a good example of all of this.
I don't want to be an example.
No, that is the difficulty of this is most people when they start talking about the Bible, thinking about any
You get bored.
more difficult topic, you get bored, or you wonder.
There's only certain things in the Bible that I like, which is the gory stuff.
Yeah, well, that's why.
I'm a horror movie fanatic, so.
But this is why Ruth's suggestion that people read through the Bible every year on a regular basis only takes 10 minutes a day, which is not an enormous amount of time to devote to it. And you can listen to it. That is, if you have difficulty reading, which some people do,
I have sometimes.
then you can just listen to it. And
But I want to be taught in a teenager way. Like, I want people to be like, just like how teenagers would like read like those adult books and all that. Maybe not like sex books, but like just like teenager type of stuff. Then I might get I mean, I'm interested in the Bible. Just not saying I'm not.
Okay, well, there are a variety of
I think she wants to talk. She wants you to talk, so put her back
What,
on.
you want to talk now, Ruth?
Okay, put her on. Oops.
So here's what I suggest. If you want to be,
Hold on,
if you
Mom.
want to read the Bible
She's-
like in a teenagery kind of way,
Oh, wait.
then read an easier translation, like the Message. That kind of reads more like a novel, and But when you read it, you have to understand that it's not a great translation of the Bible. But if you want something easy to read, that's what the point of the Living Bible was back in like the 70s, was to give something easy to read, because almost everyone was using the King James Bible, which, unless you read a lot of Shakespeare, the King James Bible is hard to get through. So reading a version like the Message, and I think on Bible Gateway they do have the Message on there. So when you get home, I can show it to you, and you could probably have it read it to you in the Message version. So you wouldn't have to read it yourself. You could listen to it. And really, if you set a timer for 15 minutes every day and just started with Genesis and just every day pick up where you left off the last day, you'd be done by the end of the year.
Okay, that kind of sounds like a better idea.
Yeah. So, if you're just doing a casual reading of the Bible, like this is not, I'm not memorizing Bible verses. I'm not studying here to do a Sunday school lesson or anything like that. An easier version like the Message is totally the way to go, because it's a much easier read. It gives you a general idea how things were. Then if you're not sure, you go, wow, this sounds really weird. Then you can look at another version like NIV, or I think it's New American Standard is considered the best translation. But then you can question it, but then you've bridged over into study. But if you're just doing a casual reading of the Bible, pick a version that you enjoy and go with that. I like the NIV, so that's what I listen to every morning. Does that help?
Okay. Yeah, that helps.
Okay.
Okay, so what were you trying to say, Dad, when Mom was trying to talk?
Oh, I was going to essentially say the same thing that she just said. So that worked out quite nicely.
I just don't know what to say, because I am very, shy when it comes to that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm Sarah, and people are like, how are you shy? I'm like, I have bad problems being in front of people and talking in front of people. It makes me kind of, I don't know what's the word. Scared? Stage fright. There we go.
Yeah, stage fright, and that's a common problem.
And I hate that. And I was like, I see all these singers nowadays, on the stage. I'm like, how are they not, freaking out? Because I'm like, people tell me to picture people naked.
Well, you can get used to public speaking. That is, if you have to do it on a regular basis, eventually you get kind of used to it. It's like anything else. I hear people say that they're more afraid of speaking in public than they are of dying. I'm
on the scale.
But yeah, most people do not enjoy public speaking, and most people get really scared.
One more thing.
Okay.
One time when I was in 7th grade, I was supposed to read a book out loud, and I was stuttering so bad, and people were giggling and laughing at me. I'm like, it's not my fault I have stage fright. Gosh.
Well, the advantage of doing it like what we're doing here on a website, or
Mom's laughing.
Television, real television, is that all you see is a camera. Mm-hmm. You don't see the people that may actually be out there behind the camera.
Sometimes I feel
since you're sitting here with the computer monitor here, you simply see Mommy sitting there, and you see us over here. So that's not particularly scary or intimidating, is it? Is it? Maybe. But
I don't know what to feel like. I just feel like, hey, I'm the funny one.
Yes,
hello.
But questions is what apologetics is all about.
Again, I said, I just made Mom laugh because I said I'm the funny one. Okay,
but again, going back to our topic, questions is what apologetics is all about. That is people asking questions.
Apologetics means being apologizing, right?
No.
Okay, well then what is apologetics?
Okay, apologetics means, that is the older sense of the term, is to defend.
Oh, I must apologetic myself now.
So you were defending or answering the questions that people have. And so, for instance, a question that I had run across years and years ago. If you read the Bible a lot, you'll start noticing certain problems, for instance. And most people, when they come to the genealogies, that's the list of so-and-so gave birth to so-and-so who gave birth. So you have a whole list of names.
What mom does.
Right. Like what you see on Ancestry.com, you have all these names. Excuse me. If you're researching...
coffee.
Thank you. If you're researching your own genealogy, that can be interesting. But reading the lists of names that are hard to pronounce in the biblical text, most people just skim over those if they read them at all. That is, if you're reading through the Bible on every day, so you get through it in a year.
I thought you were about to say an Android. I was like, what?
When you hit the genealogies, that's we get to slide now. Just skim through the pages, and I don't have to really pay attention because it's just list of names, how much theological impact can this have on my life? Not a whole lot, probably. But after you've done it several years, you do perhaps pay a little attention to it. And I noticed the genealogies in Matthew of Jesus. You have a list of names of who Jesus' ancestors were. And then you have a similar genealogy in the book of Luke that gives a list of his ancestors. And I realized that those lists did not match. That is, the names are not the same in the two lists. And so that's puzzling, because you would expect that if, you're doing Jesus' list of his ancestors, it should be the same no matter which of the two Gospels you're looking at. And so why do we have these differences? And so that became a question I tried to find an answer for. Now, one person, when they looked at it, they said, well, why don't we assume that the genealogy in one of the two books is the genealogy tracing it back through Jesus' mother, Mary, and the other is tracing it back through his father, Joseph. The problem, though, if that sounds good and abstract, is if you actually look at the genealogy, you find that the genealogy very clearly is being traced in both cases through Joseph. Mm-hmm. Neither of them is tracing it through Mary. Mm-hmm. And so again, then you have the difficulty of why are they so radically different from each other? Mm-hmm. And the proposal I came up with finally was, I noticed that in Matthew set up his genealogy so that it would be divided into 3 sections, each of which had 14 names in it. And if you compare those genealogies with the other boring genealogies in the Old Testament, you'll see that the genealogy in Matthew left out some names in order to get the right numbers. Or you'd have a list of 14 names, and then another list of 14 names, another list of 14 names. You had 3 lists of 14.
Me. You're losing me.
I know I'm losing you. I'm losing the audience too, probably. My point is that it's questions like that people will have, and they'll say, well, if the authors of Luke and Matthew couldn't even get Jesus' genealogy right, then how do we know anything else in the book is correct? And so
that's what I wonder sometimes. I'm like, how do we know God exists? I mean, people can say he exists, but we haven't met him.
Well,
so how do we know he's real?
Well, as Christians, we argue that we have met him, and the fact that Jesus, through the Holy Spirit, interacts with us.
You know what I mean, though.
Yeah, you mean walking up to him, knocking on a door, he opens the door, and you sit down and have coffee. God. Yeah, so we don't get to do that.
I got mom bad.
But then that gets us back to the more philosophical aspects of dealing with... Yes?
Just wanted to pat you, I don't know.
When we move in that direction, though, then we're getting more into the philosophical and academic aspects of how we argue about the existence of God. And put it this way, do you have to argue for the existence of, say, your grandfather?
I have 2 grandfathers. Which one are you talking about?
Well, can I meet either of them?
No.
Why?
Because they're dead.
Okay.
Am I doing something wrong?
No. But the issue is somewhat similar when we think in terms of trying to argue for the existence
It's
of
like,
God.
I mean, like, they're with God, but they're not here.
They're not here.
Mom wants to
You
talk.
can't see them.
Hold
Okay.
on. Let's get our earbuds and
we'll
listen in. Hold on.
Switch
let me
over
move.
to Ruth and see what she wants to say now.
Okay, hold on, Mom. Wait till we get set up. And we
Okay.
ready.
She'll see it.
Okay, so Brittany,
Wait.
do you believe in George Washington? I can't hear you guys.
Okay.
Brittany,
Yeah.
do you
'Cause he
believe
was
in George
alive.
Washington?
I mean,
You're behind.
But have you met him? Have you met George Washington?
oh, it's going bad. No.
Okay, how do you know that George Washington exists then?
No. Because we have pictures.
No photographs.
What else?
No photographs?
They didn't exist then.
Oh.
They're paintings,
Why do
but
people
somebody could
draw,
have just painted
draw him
those.
the way he
Because people made paintings of them.
looks?
They made
Well,
paintings
then
of
there's a
them.
photo. That's a
No,
photo.
That's not a photo. That's a painting.
Okay, so how else do we know that George Washington exists or existed?
I see where you're going with this.
Okay, so humor me then. Where, like, you can read about him in
We have
history books,
eyewitnesses
right?
that,
There are
talk
people
about
that
him. We have
that spoke
things
to
that he
him,
wrote.
that lived
Yeah.
around
I-
him, that
I
wrote
kinda
about
get where-
The
him.
United States exists.
Hold on.
You see his picture on our coins, on our
Mhm.
money. So you know that he exists because there's evidence for it, right?
So, but that's like a photo. It's kind of like a photo.
No, it's somebody.
No, it's
Well,
not.
it
But,
shows
okay,
you what you
well,
look like.
it's more
so it has to
recent
be a
times
photo
too.
Type of thing. I mean, it's not.
I mean,
Somebody drew it.
yeah, it's
That's
not.
not a photograph.
Well, it kind of is because it shows someone's looks.
So people can make pictures of Jesus. People can paint pictures.
Did you know some people think Jesus is black?
It's unlikely he was Jewish.
Okay, it's getting all mixed up.
okay, so anyway,
Tell Mom.
but you
I
know,
can't. It's-
you know
it's
that God
overwhelming.
exists because there's evidence for God. You see God in nature. You see God in the complexity and the beauty of what's around us. You can read about God in the Bible. Jesus is God, and so all the people that talked to Jesus and wrote about Jesus, those
Coffee,
things are in the
coffee,
Bible, just
coffee.
like you would read about George Washington in a history book. I don't believe George Washington wrote any books. Dad can correct me if I'm wrong, but assuming he did not write any books about himself, we have people who have written about him. You can go to his house, to Mount Vernon. You can see the things that he used there. Now, obviously, there's more artifacts for George Washington because he lived about 200 years ago, whereas Jesus walked on the planet 2,000 years ago. But there's evidence for the existence of Christ. So there is evidence. It's not just like a blind faith, like, I want to believe in the potato god. It's different. It's not a made up thing. And you can see the results of your belief in God and your belief in Jesus in your life. Like, if you don't believe that George Washington existed, you would never travel to Mount Vernon or ever go to Washington, D.C., because you don't believe that George Washington ever existed. But if you believe he existed, you're going to read books about him. You're going to go visit Mount Vernon. You're going to go to Washington, D.C. and see pictures of him up in the Capitol. You're going to go to see the Washington Monument and all those things. It's the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense to you?
Oh, you want me to do the commercial?
Not
Oh my
yet.
gosh, it's like 5 o'clock.
Not yet.
Yes.
Okay. So I think we're getting close to time. Yeah, we are. We're super close to time. So I want to say a couple of things. First of all, we'll be back again about 4 o'clock next week. And the topic for next week is... Let me look. I'll look it up while I'm talking. Anyway, I want to talk about the 25th of May. I want to make an argument for not broadcasting that day. This is Memorial Day weekend. But if we do broadcast that day, or if we bump the schedule up, either on the 25th or that first Saturday in June, we'll be talking about sexuality and the Bible. And this was an episode that we did almost 20 years ago on Beyond the Box. And if you go through the Mirror Darkly website, Facebook page, you'll see that you'll see a hot pink picture of Beyond the Box. That's the episode that's sexuality in the Bible. I'm not sure why it's hot pink and the other ones aren't. But anyway, I would encourage you to listen to that. It is 2 hours. It's long. We didn't know then about, time limits or whatever. So, but anyway, I recommend that you watch that before that broadcast, because I think that's going to give us some good subtopics to talk about. So I'm looking for the schedule. What is it?
Well, you're doing
It's pretty
that.
funny to listen to,
I'm gonna
too.
do the commercial.
Okay. Let me grab my laptop.
Not yet.
Ah! I dropped my phone. Make everybody seasick. We need a better place. The schedule should be pinned to the top, to be quite honest.
She said okay. So, let me take this off. Do you want me to start?
Yep, go ahead.
A Mere Darkly Unbridled Inquiry is brought to you by Quartz Hill School of Theology. You can find us online at www.theology.edu. Classes are offered online as well as in person. Quartz Hill Community Church is a local body of believers who believe in loving God and loving people. We are located at 51st Street West and Avenue K in Quartz Hill, California. We have morning worship every Sunday morning beginning at 11 a.m. Our services combine traditional as well as contemporary worship with Bible-centered teaching. We offer Sunday schools for all ages. Sunday school begins at 10 a.m. On Wednesdays, we have a dinner and prayer meeting beginning at 5:30 p.m. If you are in the area, join us. You can also follow our Facebook page and check out our website at www.littlebluechurch.org. Okay.
Is it my turn?
Hold on, Mom.